From City Hall in Corpus Christi, council members today accepted a petition from some residents who want the city of Corpus Christi to annex their property. The owners of more than 160 acres behind London ISD want city services for a new housing development, and apparently they are willing to pay for those services. Our Brian Burns has more on the story.
A year ago, Council approved wastewater and sewer extensions to the area around London schools for future development. With the resolution approving the annexation request for 161 acres of land behind the school area, the process can now begin. The land was outlined for Council with a map showing London schools and where the current city limits are located. Developer Bart Brazelton of Brazelton Homes says it's been a 3-year project for him.
It will be the first typical neighborhood on the other side of Oso Creek. It will be right behind the London School campus. And how this started was we began working with the city on a master plan for that area, and we have been building a sewer system underneath Oso Creek, and it will be the first across the creek.
This is the spot along County Road 33 behind London High School where these 700 to 900 homes may be built. Brazelton says the prices would range from the mid-200s to the mid-500s in price. There will be 4 public meetings on the annexation before Council will take a first reading in mid-May. From behind London Schools, Brian Burns, 3 News.